Love sometimes shows up when we're at rock bottom, in our most vulnerable moments, and it finds us through someone we never expected. That's exactly what we're talking about today, how life can surprise us with a connection so deep and real, it transforms us completely. If you've ever felt like destiny can flip everything upside down and still guide you to the right place, this story is for you. This is exactly what happened to Alex Mattew, a 30-year-old millionaire who seemingly had everything life could offer. Money, business success, social prestige. But still, something was missing. He was tired of his routine filled with meetings, closed deals, and the pressure to maintain a perfect life in the eyes of others. Alex was craving a change. One night in Las Vegas, he decided he needed a break from his life in New York. He was searching for something that would make him feel alive again. In a tavern illuminated by the vibrant city lights, Alex, dressed in an impeccable suit and exuding confidence, spotted a woman who changed everything in just seconds. Her name was Cristine, a young blonde with blue eyes, radiating a blend of grace and mystery. She didn't seem to belong to that chaotic environment, which only made her more enchanting. Even after just a few hours of conversation, Alex already knew. There was something about Cristine that attracted him overwhelmingly, something beyond her beauty. He felt that she was what had been missing in his life. So, in an impulsive gesture, typical of a night in Las Vegas, Alex made a decision. He proposed. Was it crazy? Absolutely. But somehow, it felt right in that moment. Cristine, surprised and charmed by the idea of marrying such a handsome and successful man, hesitated for a second. But the temptation to say yes was too strong. The magical atmosphere, with the neon lights and the feeling that anything was possible, completely enveloped her. And with a smile that lit up her face, she accepted. In less than an hour, Alex and Cristine found themselves in a small chapel, where a minister united them in marriage. The ceremony was quick, but filled with emotion and adrenaline. They left hand in hand, with the lights of Las Vegas reflecting in their radiant expressions. After the ceremony, Alex rented a Lamborghini so they could celebrate their wedding night in style. With the warm night breeze hitting their faces and the city's lights shining around them, they felt unstoppable. Cristine couldn't stop looking at Alex, internally questioning if she had made the right choice. After all, everything happened so fast. But when she looked into his eyes, filled with certainty and confidence, she knew that, at least for that night, she had made the right decision. However, just like the lights of Las Vegas that shine and fade around the curves of the road, destiny had other plans for them. Suddenly, a car came speeding from a side intersection. Alex saw the headlights approaching quickly, and in a reflex, he swerved the wheel with all his strength. The car skidded across the road, but Alex's side took the impact. The sound of metal crashing and glass shattering filled the air. When everything stopped, Cristine was alive, with only a few scratches. Dazed, she looked around and saw Alex unconscious beside her, his face covered in blood and his breathing barely noticeable. Panic consumed Cristine. She stumbled out of the car, desperately calling for help. The paramedics arrived quickly and began working. Alex was taken to the hospital in critical condition, needing to be intubated and rushed into surgery. As Cristine waited outside the emergency room, her world, which seemed so perfect just hours before, began to crumble. One of the doctors approached her with a grave expression. He explained that Alex had suffered a severe head trauma, along with multiple fractures. He was in an induced coma, and even if he survived, he might never be the same again. Cristine heard the doctor's words, but inside, her thoughts began to drift. The man who had promised her the world was now on the brink of death. She knew that if he died, she would inherit a fortune. If he survived, she'd be responsible for taking care of him, and that was something she wasn't willing to do. As time passed, standing motionless in that hospital room, Alex began receiving intensive care, mostly from a dedicated nurse named Ariana. Ariana was passionate about her job. Her work at the hospital was more than just a career, it was her calling. She believed that her duty extended far beyond technical care. For her, the heart of nursing was in the ability to humanize even the darkest moments of someone's life. And so one day, she found herself caring for Alex, the millionaire now lying in critical condition. She took care of Alex with the same dedication she showed all her patients, but soon, she felt something different about her connection with him. During his baths, while gently washing his skin with a sponge, she spoke to him softly, as if trying to reach him through the coma. "I know you're in there fighting. Stay strong, we're in this together." Her words were tender, almost like a verbal caress, and she believed in some way he could hear her. Day by day, Ariana grew more attached. She adjusted the machines with extreme care, always checking the temperature, the lights, and any small detail that might bring comfort to Alex. "I brought this special blanket for you today," she whispered one night as she covered him with a soft throw she had personally chosen. "It'll keep you warm until you wake up." But as Ariana grew more emotionally involved with Alex, she began to notice something unsettling. Cristine, Alex's wife, would visit the hospital from time to time. Always well-dressed, with flawless makeup, she seemed more concerned about her appearance than her husband's condition. At first, Ariana tried not to judge. After all, everyone deals with grief in their own way. However, Cristine's behavior soon raised suspicions. Instead of spending more time by Alex's side, she seemed rushed during her visits, almost uncomfortable. Her gaze, always distant, constantly avoided her husband's still body. One afternoon, while adjusting the monitors, Ariana overheard Cristine on the phone, speaking in a low voice but with an impatient tone. The words inheritance, lawyers, and divorce echoed through the room, making Ariana's stomach churn. The cold, calculating tone of Alex's wife was deeply disturbing. Ariana began to sense that something was wrong. Cristine never asked the doctors about Alex's health or showed any concern about his recovery. Instead, she seemed more interested in knowing when and how she could move on with her life. One night, Ariana decided to observe Cristine more closely. As she discreetly tidied up Alex's room, she overheard his wife speaking to him in an unexpectedly cold manner. Cristine, who usually displayed a loving facade in front of the doctors, now revealed her true self. She ran her fingers through Alex's hair with automatic detached motions while murmuring words filled with sarcasm and disdain. "Look at you now, so fragile. Ironic, isn't it? You were so powerful, and now," Cristine let out a bitter laugh, lowering her voice even more. "When I said yes, I knew I could get something out of it. And now, I'm going to take it all." Ariana, her heart racing, hid behind the curtain, unable to believe what she was hearing. Cristine wasn't there out of love. She was waiting, ensuring Alex would never wake up again. A wave of anger and sadness surged through Ariana. She knew she couldn't let Cristine get away with this, and she certainly couldn't allow Alex to fall victim to such cruelty. It was in that moment, watching Cristine walk out of the room with cold indifference, that Ariana decided she would do everything in her power to protect Alex, even if it meant confronting his wife. From that point on, the care Ariana already dedicated to Alex became a mission. She wasn't just fighting for her patient's life. She was determined to make sure he woke up and learned the truth. And in every gesture, in every word Ariana whispered beside Alex's bedside, there was a silent promise. She would be there waiting for him, ready to help him come back to life. Cristine, on the other hand, was planning to convince the doctors to turn off the machines, claiming that Alex was suffering and there was no hope for recovery. Ariana knew she had to act quickly. When the doctors began discussing the possibility of taking Alex off life support, she stepped in. "You can't do this," she said, her voice trembling but filled with determination. "She doesn't love him. She's trying to get rid of him to take his fortune." "I heard everything." The doctors were skeptical. After all, Cristine had legal authority as Alex's wife. But before they could make any decisions, something miraculous happened. Alex began to move. Alex's vital signs increased, and against all odds, he started to wake up from the coma. His eyes, still heavy and clouded, wandered around the room until they locked onto Ariana's face. Ignoring Cristine entirely, he murmured Ariana's name, as if he somehow knew she was the one who had been by his side. Cristine tried to feign concern, stepping closer to the bed, but Alex, still weak, muttered with difficulty, "Don't, come closer." The few words Alex managed to speak were enough for everyone to understand what had happened. One of the doctors, who had already been suspicious of Cristine, discreetly called the police. Realizing her plan had failed, Cristine attempted to flee, but she was arrested on the spot, charged with attempted murder and fraud. When Alex first opened his eyes, the world around him seemed hazy, distant. He saw the blurry shapes of faces and medical equipment, but amid all the confusion there was something, or rather someone, who brought him a sense of calm. His eyes, still heavy from the battle he had fought in the coma, instinctively searched for the figure that felt strangely familiar. And then he saw her, Ariana. She was right there by his side, as she had been all those days, with soft eyes and a warm, reassuring smile. Alex didn't fully understand what was happening. His body was weak, and his mind was clouded, but Arianna's face comforted him. He knew, even without remembering everything, that he could trust her. As the days passed and his consciousness slowly returned, Alex began piecing together what had happened. He couldn't believe that Cristine, the woman he had married so impulsively, was now behind bars, accused of plotting his death. It was hard for him to accept that the person he had committed to didn't really care about him. The marriage had been a hasty decision, driven by the allure of beauty and a whirlwind romance. Now, he understood how little he actually knew about her. But while the painful truth about Cristine unfolded, Alex also started to realize something far more significant. Every morning when he woke up in the hospital, Ariana was there, by his side. Not because she had to be, but because she chose to be. And during this time, as he recovered, Alex began to see beyond the professionalism of the nurse who cared for him. Ariana wasn't just the person adjusting his monitors and checking his vital signs. She was the hand that held his when he felt at his weakest. She was the soft voice encouraging him to take one more step during physical therapy, and the smile that reminded him there was life beyond the hospital. She didn't talk much about herself, but over time, Alex began to understand her heart through the little things she did. They started talking at first about trivial matters, what had happened while he was unconscious, updates on his health, but soon, the conversations deepened. Ariana shared stories from her life, her reasons for becoming a nurse, and her desire to help others, and Alex listened with genuine interest. In return, he began to open up his world to her, something he rarely did with anyone around him. "You're much more than you appear to be," Ariana once said, while adjusting Alex's pillows. "I know what happened with Cristine was tough, but that doesn't define who you are." Alex looked at her with a mix of gratitude and admiration. There was something so genuine about Ariana. She wasn't there out of interest or with ulterior motives. She was there because she cared, in a way Alex had never experienced, not even in his previous relationships. The bond forming between them was different from any other. It was built on trust, companionship, and an honesty that Alex had never encountered before. As Alex regained his strength, their conversations became more frequent, lighter, and more intimate. They laughed together, shared stories from the past, and Ariana found herself smiling more in his presence. Alex's recovery seemed to speed up, not just because of the medical treatment, but because of the emotional support she provided. "I never imagined I'd wake up to find someone like you by my side," Alex confessed one day, as they walked down the hospital corridor. He was still weak, but Ariana walked beside him, holding his arm, helping him keep his balance. "Sometimes life surprises us," she replied with a tender smile, her eyes filled with warmth. In that moment, Alex realized that true connection wasn't something that happened in a passionate instant, as he had believed when he married Cristine. It was something built over time, through sincere gestures and words exchanged in the hardest of times. Ariana had been there when he needed someone the most, asking for nothing in return. She was the anchor that kept him grounded when everything seemed lost. In the days that followed, their bond grew stronger. There was no rush, no pressure. Just the comfort of each other's company, the friendship that grew naturally. And as Alex made a full recovery, he knew he had found something rare, someone who knew him in his vulnerability and accepted him fully. Fate, which had led him down a painful and uncertain path with Cristine, had also brought him to someone who truly mattered. And as he walked out of the hospital, with Ariana by his side, Alex knew the future was uncertain, but this time, he was stepping into it with the right person. After months of recovery in the hospital, Alex finally received the news he had been waiting for. He was ready to go home. His recovery had been long and challenging, but Ariana had been by his side every step of the way. And now, as he prepared to leave the hospital, he found himself thinking about what life would be like outside of that clinical environment. But more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about Ariana, not just as the nurse who had cared for him, but as someone who had slowly become essential in his life. On the day he left the hospital, Alex looked at Ariana with a smile full of meaning. He knew life outside would be different, and he didn't want her to be just a memory of that difficult phase. He wanted more, much more. With every conversation, every gesture between them, something new had emerged, something that could no longer be ignored. A few days after his discharge, Alex gathered the courage. He picked up the phone and called Ariana. His heart raced, a rare feeling for him, considering he was a man used to making billion-dollar business decisions with ease. But this time, it was different. "Hi Ariana," he said, trying to stay calm. "I've been thinking, would you like to have dinner with me this week?" There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, and for a moment, Alex thought he had moved too quickly. But then, Ariana's soft voice responded with a playful tone. "I was waiting for you to ask." And that's how it all began. Their first date outside the hospital was simple, yet filled with meaning. They met at a quiet restaurant, far from the noise of Las Vegas, where they could finally talk without the shadow of the hospital hanging over them. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt truly relaxed, while Ariana, with her warm smile, seemed even more radiant under the soft glow of the candles. As their dates became more frequent, Ariana realized that something deeper was growing between them. It was no longer just a friendship born from Alex's recovery. There were exchanged glances that spoke more than words. There were subtle touches, gestures that conveyed a new and thrilling feeling. Alex felt it too. A man who had built his life on quick decisions and absolute certainty, he now took his time, savoring every moment with Ariana. One evening, after an especially memorable dinner, Alex walked her to her door. The night air was warm, and a sweet tension lingered between them, something both felt but neither had yet put into words. As they stopped in front of Ariana's doorway, they looked at each other, as if waiting for the inevitable next step. I just wanted to say that these days outside the hospital have been the best I've had in a long time, Alex began, his voice softer, almost hesitant. You've helped me find something I didn't know I was missing. Ariana smiled, her heart racing. I feel the same way. The silence that followed was filled with something neither of them could ignore any longer. Alex, in a delicate gesture, took Ariana's hand. She stepped closer, and in a smooth, natural movement, their lips met. The kiss was gentle at first, as if they were both discovering something new. But soon it deepened, filled with all the care and connection they had built over months. When the kiss ended, they were both breathless, but smiling sincerely. Ariana invited him in, and for the first time, they crossed the threshold into a new phase of their lives. That night, the bond they had shared in the hospital evolved into something more, something that transcended any previous relationships they had experienced. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the room where they lay. As Alex woke up, he looked at Ariana lying beside him and felt a peace he hadn't known in a long time. There were no more doubts, no shadows from the past. It was clear to him that Ariana wasn't just the woman who helped him physically recover. She was the person who, with kindness and patience, helped him rebuild his life. The days that followed were filled with laughter, outings, and moments they cherished together. Their relationship grew, without hurry, but with an intensity that made it clear they were meant to be together. The bond they had created in the hospital, through conversations and difficult times, was now blossoming into a shared life. Eventually, Alex took Ariana on a trip out of the city, to a small cottage in the countryside, where they could enjoy time together, far from any pressures. Sitting under the starry sky with a glass of wine in hand, Alex looked at Ariana and said, "I think I've always known you were the right person for me. It just took me a while to realize." Ariana laughed, leaning on his shoulder. "I think life has its own plans for us." And it was there, beneath the stars, that they decided they would stay together, not just as friends or lovers, but as two souls who had found each other unexpectedly and formed a bond that no one could break. Their first kisses, the first night together, each moment seemed to confirm that fate had brought their lives together for something greater. And so, the man who was once marked by the pain of an impulsive and failed marriage now found in Ariana not just healing for his body, but also for his heart. They continued to build a life together, a happy life, filled with affection, respect, and genuine love. This time, Alex knew he had made the right choice. If you enjoyed this love and redemption story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories. And tell us, which part touched you the most? Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for following along with our stories. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to check out the other beautiful stories we've shared. I can't wait to see you in the next one.